Bankey, Director of Conservation at the National Aquarium. So most of the health of the bay relies upon not what happens to the waters of the bay itself, but what happens on the land surrounding the bay. So obviously when you're in an area that has a lot of influence from the land into a small area of water, like the upland streams, that the effects of any kind of degradation are concentrated in those smaller stream areas. There are a lot of kind of harmful inputs into the Chesapeake Bay, and a lot of reasons its health has been on the decline for a while, and a lot of things that we can do to help fix it. In the early ages of Chesapeake Bay restoration, people were really focused on what we call point source pollution. So that means pollution coming out of the end of a pipe, or pollution we can point to and say we need to clean up that particular spot. A lot of that has worked, and we've gone a long way to make sure those point source or those sources of pollution are cleaned up and managed. But now, today, we're looking at what we call non-point source pollution, or things that are coming in much smaller scales but from larger areas. So stormwater here in the Chesapeake Bay, here in Baltimore City, all around the watershed itself is a big deal. And all that means is the rain that comes down during our storm events lands on the land. And I said anything that's on the land affects the Chesapeake Bay proper, so that stormwater lands on the land and it gets washed into the bay. Here in the Baltimore City, for example, if it rains on the street, that water is directly input into the nearest stream or the harbor. It doesn't get put to a sewage treatment plant, it doesn't get filtered, it goes directly into your local stream. And that's true for most of Maryland. The Chesapeake Bay and the health of the Chesapeake Bay is linked to a tremendous amount of different kind of aspects of our world. You mentioned that the environmental impacts of a continually degrading Chesapeake Bay will be pretty dramatic. We've already seen declines in a lot of the fisheries that are out there, and that then translates into declines of some of the kind of cultural aspects, the watermen, the oystermen, the crabbers that are out there, which then points to kind of economic issues, and it just goes on from there. Communities are affected, people are affected, families are affected, but also just the general health of the water that surrounds us affects our family's health. We need clean water, we need clean air, we need these things to have a healthy society and a healthy family and healthy neighborhoods, and if we don't have that, then we need to kind of rethink how we live our lives. This year we had some kind of low numbers in our what we call submerged aquatic vegetation, or SAV. And that it's just a plant. It's not one of the animals you're talking about, but it provides habitat, it provides nesting area and foraging area and shelter for a lot of the other species in the Chesapeake Bay. For example, it's a great place for crabs to hide when they're trying to get out of the way of predators. So if we don't have a healthy SAV habitat, then our crab population's in danger. And if that happens, then there are other species that are intertwined with the crab population. So it really is all intertwined, and it is all connected. So there are thousands of tributaries that lead into the Chesapeake Bay. It's really a quite impressive number. And everything that is in those tributaries obviously flows downstream. So if we can restore to kind of pristine conditions those tributaries, that effect is just going to concentrate as we go downstream, and it's just going to cause this ripple effect through the main stem of the bay and then further out into the Atlantic Ocean.